Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Dexter's Diary. Happy Tuesday. I usually drop my videos on Monday, but it was President's Day and I took the day off, so I'm here today though, clocking in. So today I want to talk about why. I know it sounds like a really just ambiguous statement, but I'm going to break it down for you, right? Here we go. So I was talking with a friend and a really close friend of mine, and we were having a conversation, and somehow we got to talking about different things, how friends do. And I realized something about myself. And it may not necessarily be something new, but at this moment, like, it was pivotal, it was clutch. Because I realized, like, it was like, oh okay. It's like, so we're talking, and I realized throughout my life, we all have, throughout our lives, we have a series of whys, right? Like, why do we do this? Why is this happening to me? Why? Everybody's whys may be different, but they're pretty much parallel. We're all still trying to figure out, like, why? What's the purpose behind this? And I've been to a lot of things in my life, and if you follow my channel, hopefully you're subscribed and notified for everything. But I've had an interesting life, right? I feel like I've lived a lot of life in a small space, and on the one hand, I'm kind of like exhausted, and on the other hand, I'm kind of like, what's next? But altogether, I'm in a great place emotionally. I'm working on the physical part because mama got to lose some weight, but that's neither here nor there. That's just for me. But emotionally and physically, I'm in a good place. But it took a long time to get here. And one of the things that, I don't know if I've ever told anyone, or, well, I'm telling you now, but one of the things that drove me years ago, I think when I tell people about my past, and that they're like, wow, I would never have thought that you've gone through this stuff and you seem really well adjusted and blah, 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 blah. But I've never really divulged my why. And I talk about vanity being the thing that saved me, but behind the vanity was, and I'm going to preface this with saying, like, forgiveness is a really, really detrimental thing in our lives that we really don't give as much praise to as we should, because it's amazing what it can do. I'm just going to say that. So, a little background, like, me and my mother have always had a tumultuous relationship. And I'm not going to go into right now, but just really crazy. And we've had arguments, conversations, things like that, and we've said some really crazy things to each other. From a child to mother standpoint, I feel like what she says, what she has said, is crazy for a mother to say to a child. But I'm going to also put it in perspective as, in that moment, I think when certain arguments occur, whether it's between mother and child, whether it's between best friends, or whether it's between a husband and wife, I think there are times when the threshold of pain becomes so unbearable, because you can love someone so much and something happens and you don't stop loving them, but you can dislike and really, really hate them in that moment. And I know hate, well, I would be like, hate is a strong word. Hate is just a word. It's no different than bitch, hoe, slut, fuck, whatever. Like, it's all about the intention behind it. There are words that you can say, and if you're just talking to your friend, you're like, hey bitch, whatever, blah, blah, and it means nothing because that's your friend. But if you're arguing with a complete stranger, and they call you that same name, this can lead to something else. Or if you're arguing with a loved one and in that moment they call you that same very thing that they could have called you yesterday and under different pretense it was cool, it can be taken completely to the left. So there were things that were said between the both of us. And I feel like her more than me only because I feel like on some level I pretty much kept regurgitating the same thing because that's what I felt. But like, because for me what I felt was so strong, and so there was no, I had tunnel vision. And in her way to hurt me, or maybe not so much hurt me, or maybe it was like, okay, there was hurt, there was intent to hurt, but there was also projection. And I feel like when parents argue with their children, a lot of it is based on their own trauma. A lot of it is based on their own collateral damage, and they, you know, they spit it forward on the child and it just becomes crazy. Oh, excuse me. What? Every time. Like, okay, anyway. So there were things that were said, and a lot of my biggest why after the group home and not getting caught up in certain things and choosing not to get pregnant and not to be whatever and go to school, get a degree, do all this stuff, was a lot of it was I was trying to prove my mom wrong. And not trying, I felt like she would never get the chance to say like whatever she had said, like I had lived up to it. You know what I mean? Like we would get into situations, it would get crazy. And she'd be like, oh, you're never going to be anything. You're not going to be this, da, 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 da. And I'm fast forwarding. I'm really speaking really fast because, like I said, forgiveness is a big thing, but it doesn't take away the sting of what has been said. So for whatever, I'm just not trying to really get emotional and really like delve into this shit because it's what's occurred is done, and I'm good on that note. But anyway, and so everything that drove me up until this point in my life has been about that, right? Like, look, like almost like, look, ma, like like, look, ma, no hands. You know what I mean? Like, I made it this far, and even though you thought I would fail, or you thought I would fall, or you thought I would do certain things, I didn't. And maybe you're surprised, or maybe that was your plan all along. You know, sometimes people tell you to go left, but they really want you to go right. But because they know if they tell you to go right, you're gonna go left. You know what I mean? So you just go left because they know you're gonna go right. Whatever. This is just me trying to rationalize everything and put things in perspective. I feel like that's just how my brain works. That's just how I do things. Like I'm always looking for the explanation behind it. Or there could be more than one explanation behind it. It is what it is. But that's been my why. I say all this to say that's been my why. Like everything that I've overcome has been to say like, you're never gonna see me become what you thought I was gonna become. Even if you didn't really feel that way, the fact that you said it was catalyst enough for me to not want to be that. And I've made my mistakes, and I don't even want to call them mistakes. I've had my journeys. I've discovered some things. I've walked down a few roads that probably shouldn't have been walked down, but it's cool because I'm still here and I'm still breathing and I still got it, and it's not a problem. But at this point in my life, it's no longer my why. This is what I'm getting to. Like, at this point in my life, everything that I'm embarking on, everything that I'm creating, everything that I'm getting ready to create, every thought process is no longer about her. It's about me. I am now my biggest why. And anything that comes after that, as far as whether I decide to have children or get married or whatever, blah, 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 will be part of that why. But for better reasons, because this is what I've manifested, this is what I've wanted, and this no longer, I can't, blame sounds like, I don't really want to use the word blame, but I can't blame her anymore, right? And past a certain point, I feel like if somebody else is your why for the things that you do things, at some point you got to put that down. They can no longer be your why. At some point we have to take control. We have to be cognizant that if we continue to do things for other people, if somebody else is your why, you will almost never be good enough for that why, or you will never, like, you'll just be living your life for somebody else's shit, and never get to what you want to get to. So if somebody else is your why, unless it's your children, because I get that, like, we all want to, for the most part, give our children a better life than we had, and I do feel like children force you to be a better person, be a which is important, and it's great because we get to see growth in our child and we get to see growth in ourselves. But past that, if you're still using past traumas or people who hurt you as your why for doing things in life, you got to get past that. You got to let that go. They can no longer be your why. You have to now be your why. We're adults now. Like, I used that then as a child because, again, I was a child, and that was what I needed. I needed that to get. I needed that to keep me alive. And I know it may sound really big, but it is. Like, I really needed that to keep me alive. There were points in my life where I felt so low, and I felt like I didn't have the strength. I literally sat. I was sleeping on the floor at my then best friend's house in her mother's apartment in Brooklyn. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how the fuck I got there. And I left the house, I went in the middle of the projects in Brooklyn, in East New York, and I sat on the park bench and I cried. I mean, I cried so fucking hard. Like, people were walking by. And you know what's funny is that you can, the thing about New York is, like, you can cry in New York and nobody asks you or come by and tell you, like, are you okay? They won't say anything. They just watch you crying and keep it pushing. So that's times 10 in the projects, because they're probably like, somebody just beat her ass and she probably out here crying, which wasn't the case. I was so done with life. At that point, I felt like I had reached the lowest point. I sat on this park and cried, and I'm like, God, I don't have the strength for this anymore. I cannot. I can't. I just didn't have it. And on the flip side of that, I was just like, after I cried, like, I was there for a good minute. But, like, on the flip side of that, I was just like, she can't win. And I know it's a crazy thought, but that was what kept me going. Like, she can't win. And on the flip side of that, it was like so many different thoughts, because it's like, I do have siblings, and how can I tell my siblings that they're amazing, they can do such great things, and they can do this, and here I am not able to give myself that. How would it look to them if I just gave up? You know, like, so they became part of my why too, because it was like, I can't. But it was a battle, because it was just like, they're not living this life that I'm living. And in those low points in your life, you feel like you can feel like alone. And you can be in a room full of people. You can be in the Thanksgiving Day parade, but at those low points in your life, they're the loneliest points in your life. And a little bit ways after that, I had called my goddaughter's mother, and I'm just like, Peach, I don't have it. I can't, number one, I can't stay here. Number two, like, I just don't have it. And she's like, yo, get on the train and come to my house, because I don't even like the way you sound. And I was like, at this point I didn't even have money to get on the train, really. And she's like, we're gonna figure something out or whatever. I could not. It was like I had taken the last punch I can take, and I just couldn't fight anymore. And I got to her house, and I'm in the bathroom, and I closed the door. I got on the phone. I'm in the bathroom. I call my sister, and I'm talking to her, and she's like, nah, you can't do this. Like, at this point, I haven't decided how I was gonna kill myself, but I'm talking to her, and I just realized like I couldn't leave my sister. I couldn't leave my little sister. I just couldn't walk away from that. And to piggyback on the fact that I couldn't leave her, I was not gonna let my mother win. Like, she was not. And I know that this, again, like I said, this is how I rationalized, and this is how I was able to get through these really low points, because I needed a why I needed a why bigger than myself. Because at that point I felt so inconsequential. And I needed more. I needed more than myself to be a reason for me to live. And so these are the things that I use. And now that I'm over that part of my life, I realize that they did what they had to do at the time that they needed to be done. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I could even be here to share the story with you. But I'm so much stronger now, and I'm so much better now that they are no longer my why. I'm my why, and by extension of that, it allows me to be a better person for them anyway. But I come first in this chapter of my life. Everything that I do now is because this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do, and no one else can replace me until I have a baby or something, a little chocolate chip running around or something. But until then, if that doesn't occur, I'm always gonna be my why. That was a lot. That was really emotional for me. So find out what your why is. And if your why is not you, at this point in your life, maybe it's time to reevaluate, rediscover what is fueling you. And if it's someone that you need to forgive, then forgive them. And I'm not saying like call them up and forgive them. Even though that, like I said, that would be nice. But if you can't do that, just forgive them in your mind and in your heart, and be like, you know what, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. You did what I needed you to do at the time that I needed you, but you are no longer my crutch. And I can stand on my own, and I'm going to be my why. Whether it's going back to school, whether it's starting a business, whatever it is, starting a family, whatever it is, be your why. Be stronger than anything else. Dig deep. I'm talking about real deep. I'm talking about deep. Like, dig deep and find your why, because it's gonna be what takes you into the next level of your life, and you'll be so thankful to have that. Because what would have happened if, God forbid, my mother would have passed away? Like, what would have been my why then? You know what I mean? Like, what would have been my why? Oh, what if I didn't have siblings? What would have been my why? But I'm not gonna play devil's advocate here, because that's not the case, and that's not what happened. And I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still moving. I'm still being me in all my glory and all my divinity, and it's amazing. And I hope that this helped to shine some light on things that's been going on in your life. And I hope that your why becomes you someday, because you're the most important person in your life. See you later. Bye.